Sup flappers, I don't know if you know this, but out of all the elements right now, there's one ugly duckling, or for this case, underwhelming performer. Now, I have mentioned this before, but this is the first time I'm devoting a video for it, so I hope people share my concern. The culprit in question here is none other than Electro. Gosh, I wish this were not the case, but here we are. But this is not it. There's actually a bigger issue at hand, and that is the fact that most of you watching this video are not subscribed. And I will be doing a giveaway for Xiao, and you have to be subscribed to participate. So I hope I don't have to end up disqualifying people like the last giveaway because of something so simple like this. So people, please make sure you are subbed, so when the giveaway comes, you can just enter it, and I hope you all the best of luck. Anyways, for this video, I'll start by talking about the problem, and as we go on, I will provide some potential solutions, and I hope you will share what you think in the comments below as well. So Electro is underwhelming. Let's start there. This shouldn't be news to anyone who has tried to build a team around Electro. However, what if I told you that it's in a worse state than even Geo at the moment? You might raise an eyebrow and say, well, I wouldn't go that far. Fundamentally, I think the problem here runs deeper than just damage and numbers, which was the problem with Geo. The numbers were undertuned. For Electro, I feel that as an element, it has an identity crisis. There's nothing Electro about Electro, if that makes sense. Here, for example, Pyro is fire. It burns, consumes, and explodes. Cryo is ice. It freezes and debuffs. Anemo is wind. It amplifies other sources of damage, and Geo is earth. It protects. Kind of. You know, we're working on that. Electro is electricity, right? So what's so electric about Electro? With Overload, it does mini pyro explosions that pale in comparison to melt and vaporize. For Swirl, it's just Anemo doing the work with Electro being just there. And don't get me started on what on earth Electro charged is even for. Currently, the only good reaction for Electro is Superconduct, and I feel that most people are running Electro just for Superconduct. Yes, there is the odd one who is running a dank Overload comp, but that is situational, and for the most part, you end up scattering enemies and have to chase each down. Overload comp isn't worth the effort unless you have a Venti. See, the problem here is that Electro doesn't serve enough purpose in most roles. Why run Overload if you can run Melt or Vaporize? Why run Electro Charge if you can just run Freeze? I mean, until now, I still don't know what the purpose of Electro Charged even is. It does damage over time. Is that it? Hell, I barely even notice it. The only time I notice Electro Charge is if I accidentally apply that on myself. Please, if anyone is running a bomb-ass Electro Charge comp, please let me know, because I am convinced at this point that Electro Charge best use is probably just for frying fish. And this is what I mean by an identity crisis. Electro is just everywhere. It does a bit here and a bit there. There's no definitive role for it to play. It's not offering anything that's not already offered by the other elements. The only one reaction, Superconduct, is a debuff which only works for physical attacks. It's so situational that it turns element into a one-trick pony. If you have noticed, none of the Electro character heavily rely on Electro reactions to be used. We have Razor, who is just a beast of a unit who happens to be Electro. Beidou, who plays around a counter mechanic that is unique to only her, who just happens to be Electro. FISCHL, who plays off of layered damage and has high base attack. And also KeQing, who utilizes high scaling from her skill and burst to overpower her foes. Don't get it backwards. Each of these Electro units are powerful, but it's not because of Electro that they are powerful. You can change Electro to another element and keep the scaling and numbers. Some of these units starts to become overpowered. So with this, I am done with complaining. How about some solutions? Now, I encourage you all to contribute to this as well. The goal here is to have Electro reactions be more relevant. Not a must, but just more viable. I don't think you have to make it so characters absolutely have to use it, but just enough to say, hey, you can try out Electro reactions, they're pretty good. Now let's start with Electro as a whole. I find that oftentimes when I use Electro, I don't feel like I'm using Electro. It's lacking the characteristics of electricity, numbing, paralysis, and conductor. These are electric qualities. I feel like Electro can be redesigned to be a medium element. So for example, if one enemy is affected by Electro and you apply Electro again, the effect will spread to other enemies around it. The effect webs out and stacks while acting as a medium. Enemies affected by Electro have their motion stuttered every few seconds. This creates an effect where Electro functions as a conductor and has paralysis effects to it. Furthermore, when Electro creates a reaction, all enemies affected by Electro within the area are also affected by the reaction. So even if you only activated Overload for the enemy right in front of you, all enemies that has Electro on them within a certain area will end up receiving the Overload reaction. So this makes it so you never need to chase down enemies, and as long as you applied Electro to all your enemies, you can go ahead and go to town. Furthermore, when attacking enemies that have Electro applied to them with more Electro attacks, all enemies chained by Electro within the area should take Electro damage. This is a fundamental Electro quality that I feel is missing from the current element. Now, before you call this broken, I think giving a character wider influence through Electro can be a great quality to have. I mean, at the end of the day, we are not hitting 500,000 damage critical hits with one shot like some of the other elements are. If dealing AoE damage through Chain Lightning is OP, how is it okay to have a single ability hit for 500,000 damage? Anyways, back on topic. The last thing to mention is that with these changes, Electro will still have its drawbacks. When fighting bosses, these changes will essentially be useless as bosses are not affected by crowd control. So my proposal is that for Electro charged, you can have it stutter bosses. So it will be the only reaction that can crowd control bosses. Now having this will give Electro Charge a purpose, as currently it really doesn't do anything. For mobbing, Electro Charge should do massive AoE stuttering and more damage over time. The damage should tick faster, be applied longer, and also have a flat 1.5% multiplier. I'm not asking for the 2x multiplier like Melt and Vaporize. With all these changes mentioned, a flat 1.5% multiplier for Electro Charge for sure will make it an amazing reaction for people to utilize. And also make sure that the 1.5x multiplier has an internal cooldown. This way people cannot abuse it by just continuously applying Hydro and Electro for that 1.5x multiplier. And with that concludes this video. I hope you all found this interesting, and I look forward to reading your suggestions below. With KeQing coming on Rate Up, I'm sure many more people will realize just how underwhelming most Electro reactions are. So let's make some noise together to get this changed for the better. Share this to get some traction on it and people to see it. If we talk about it enough, I'm sure it could just get the same treatment as Xiao. So fingers crossed. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you beautiful flappers in the next one. Until then, stay safe and peace.